Welcome back to Objectively, the series where we find objective answers to subjective questions. In this video, we're asking, objectively, what is the best retro track in Mario Kart Wii? It's not an easy question to answer, but by the end of this video, we will. To be clear, retro tracks are tracks from previous Mario Kart games, such as Double Dash, that are reused in Mario Kart Wii, sometimes with a few small tweaks and changes. If you want to see what the objective best Nitro or original track in the game is, we've got a video on that too. We're not going to try to influence you or anything, but if you just happen to accidentally click the link on your screen, there's nothing we can do about that. Anyway, this question isn't going to answer itself. What is the best retro track in Mario Kart Wii? Right off the bat, we can eliminate 4 tracks that stand out for their simplicity, lack of difficulty, and for just being uninteresting in general. These tracks are GCN Peach Beach, DS Yoshi Falls, SNES Mario Circuit 3, and DS Desert Hills. SNES Mario Circuit 3 and DS Yoshi Falls are irredeemably boring, and we'll just leave it at that. DS Desert Hills makes things a bit more interesting with fire snakes that bounce around the track, while DS Peach Beach features changing tides and an interesting but useless shortcut, but neither has the making of a good, let alone great, track. The annoying cataquacks don't help Peach Beach's case either.
With the truly bad tracks out of the way, we started looking at several Mario Kart track rankings from the community. Specifically, we decided to check out the bottom 3 retro tracks in each list. Any track that finished last in even one of the lists would be eliminated. Surprisingly, the first track to finish dead last in a list, and thus be knocked out of the running, was N64 Sherbet Land. We and a lot of other players have a special place in our hearts for this track because of its fun and unique features, such as the sliding penguins that not only are an obstacle to players, but can be used strategically to block shells. The ice cave section of the track is really cool as well, testing drivers' reflexes with sharp turns, low visibility, and more penguins to bump into. All in all, it's a really nice looking course that's a lot of fun despite valid criticisms about its simplicity, and we're sad to see it go. The next track to finish last on the list was GBA Shy Guy Beach. This course seems to be wildly unpopular among the Mario Kart community, and frankly, it kinda deserves to be eliminated. For one, the track is visually terrible, and the crab obstacles combined with a constant barrage of exploding cannonballs creates a bad kind of chaos. Off-road opportunities through water add a little bit of interest, but it's just not a good track overall, and we don't feel like talking about it anymore. The last track to be chopped in this round is SNES Ghost Valley 2. For what it is, this track is not terrible. It has a really cool haunted aesthetic, including boos that hover around the course, and the many sharp turns give players a decent challenge. However, the track is short and, like all SNES courses, flat and featureless.
To narrow things down some more, we looked at the top 3 retro tracks according to the same lists as before. We'd cut any track that didn't appear in the top 3 of any of the lists. Those ended up being N64 DK's Jungle Parkway, N64 Mario Raceway, and GCN Mario Circuit. 3 middle-of-the-road courses that aren't great, but they do have their own appeal. N64 Mario Raceway might be the most inexplicably fun course in the entire game. By all accounts, it should just be a standard beginner track destined to be lost in the shuffle with the Luigi Circuits and Mario Kart Stadiums of the world. But for some reason, it's so much more. The beautiful, vibrant colors of the green grass and the red piranha plants make the scenery stand out, while the huge swaths of off-road space give players freedom to try all sorts of crazy shortcuts. The track isn't great, it's pretty simple, and the amount of off-road space gives players with mushrooms a huge advantage, but it punches above its weight, and it's worth playing again and again.
DK's Jungle Parkway is another one of those courses that's greater than the sum of its parts. The visuals aren't great, and the track layout isn't particularly exciting, but the bright colors, rushing waters, steamboats, and catchy music all combine to immerse you in this awesome rainforest world. Some tight turns and narrow areas, like the rope bridge and the ramp leading up to the main jump, test drivers' drifting skills and can create absolute chaos, keeping races competitive and fun.
The final track to go in this round is GCN Mario Circuit. For a Mario Circuit beginner track, there's honestly a lot of interesting stuff. Not only is there a chain chomp to avoid, but there are piranha plants and bumpy sections to trick off of. It's not amazing by any means, but it's probably better than the Nitro version of Mario Circuit. It still deserves to be eliminated at this point, but it definitely has its positives.
Our channel has seen a lot of growth lately because of viewers like you. Remember, you can find Mario Kart videos and lots of other videos too when you sub to the weekly thing. Thank you. At this point, we have a pretty good idea of what the better retro tracks in the game are. To start making the final cuts, we ranked the 6 remaining tracks according to 5 different categories: how fun it is to drive, how skill-based it is, uniqueness, visual appeal, and music. Here's how we did it. Looking at the final rankings, it's clear that DK Mountain and Peach Garden simply lagged behind the other tracks in every category, let alone finishing first in any of them. DS Peach Gardens deserves props for its uniqueness, taking players within Peach's estate rather than just slapping a blurry picture of a castle in the background and calling it a Peach track. Unfortunately, the scenery isn't super interesting, the music is forgettable, and perhaps the most glaring flaw is the track's huge luck factor. The chain chomps wandering around the track block possible paths and force players to take time-consuming detours, while a lucky mushroom item at the right time allows players to blast through off-road areas, leaving less fortunate players in the dust. It's not a terrible track by any means, but the massive amount of luck involved in any race means it can't seriously be considered the best in the game. DK Mountain is more skill-based than Peach Gardens, and it's being eliminated more because of a lack of benefits, rather than because of any major flaws. Sure, it's not a very unique course, but it's just a really nice track overall. The twisting path that gradually takes players from the barren mountain peak to the lush jungle is decently fun to drive, and looks good as well. The tumbleweeds that bounce around the road add a fun element of difficulty without feeling like an obstacle that's completely out of the player's control. It's a good track, and elimination doesn't change that. However, one course has to be the objective best, and DK Mountain just doesn't stand out quite as much as some others.
And then there were 4. We were about to begin the final cuts, but something felt off. One track was a clear outlier, just good enough not to be kicked out the door with Peach Gardens and DK Mountain, but just bad enough to not seem equal with the other remaining tracks. What was that track, you're wondering? Well, it was Waluigi Stadium. GCN Waluigi Stadium is a highly controversial track, and frankly, some of us here at the Weekly Thing thought it should have been eliminated earlier. That being said, it's very popular among many in the community, and some of the other people here at the Weekly Thing really enjoy it. All in all, it's just too mediocre in the rankings to crack the top 3, but there are definitely a lot of pros about the course. It's fun to drive, there are tons of different obstacles, and although some might disagree, the overall monster truck stadium aesthetic is unique and really well done. It's not quite enough to save the track, but we felt like we should definitely mention the positives.
It's been a long, tough road to this point. Eliminations, cuts, dreams crushed in the blink of an eye. No one will remember the tracks that were cut. What matters are the 3 that remain, and they are without a doubt some fantastic courses. Delfino Square takes the cake for uniqueness and visual appeal, which combined with great music makes for a really awesome experience. Interestingly, the concept of a small town with narrow cobblestone streets, brick buildings, and market stalls hasn't really been done that often in Mario Kart, but it was executed to perfection in this track. Everything from the muddy alleyways to the drawbridge to the giant Pianta statue in the town square really immerses you in this dynamic seaside city, and amazingly everything still looks great this many years later. Delfino Square's unique appeal lies in how every small detail fits in to create a perfect overall theme and vibe, and the course does this better than almost any other track in Mario Kart, period. But for all of DS Delfino Square's excellence in a few categories, it falls short as far as the actual driving goes. The road itself isn't all that fun to drive compared to some other tracks, while the undesirably high luck factor is enough to push it out of contention. In short, aside from the actual track part, DS Delfino Square is one of the best courses in Mario Kart Wii.
Bowser's Castle tracks usually showcase the best Mario Kart has to offer, and this list is no exception. The final two tracks are GBA Bowser's Castle 3 and N64 Bowser's Castle. GBA Bowser's Castle 3 is another retro track that has stood the test of time incredibly well. It's unbelievable that a completely flat track could be this fun and exciting to drive, let alone be considered a great course so many years after its initial release. But GBA Bowser's Castle 3 manages to do all this and more. Despite its graphical limitations, the track uses bright colors and some of Mario Kart Wii's best music to set the Bowser's Castle mood, and a multitude of thwomps, jumps over lava, and tight turns make every part of the drive exciting. Unintended shortcut opportunities are a cool feature of the track for experienced players. It's good, but it has elite competition, and at this point in the eliminations, it might not quite be good enough to be the best retro in Mario Kart Wii.
N64 Bowser's Castle is a fantastic track. Not only does it look nice, but the 90-degree corners, narrow bridges over lava, and thwomps that actually chase the players make it fun and difficult to drive. Usually, Bowser's Castle tracks place a huge emphasis on bubbling hot lava and intense music. These features aren't bad by any means, but N64 Bowser's Castle strays away from the classic formula a little bit. And as we'll discuss, this is a huge part of what makes it so great. The course consists mainly of dark stone passageways interspersed with greenery and gardens uncharacteristic of Bowser's Castle. Interestingly, drivers never actually come face to face with Bowser, but the suspense this creates is truly better than any crazy fireball throwing obstacle. Drivers never know what could be lurking around any of the track's sharp corners, a feeling heightened by the track's ominous music. It's definitely a unique approach to a Mario Kart track, but the gamble paid off pretty well. This is absolutely the best retro track in Mario Kart Wii, and it's definitely up there with some of the best in the entire game. It's fun to drive with an emphasis on skill, looks awesome, and as far as Bowser's Castle tracks go, is really unique. Even though the music isn't catchy on its own, it does what Mario Kart music should, which is add to the overall experience of driving the course. N64 Bowser's Castle really just checks all the boxes for greatness, and for that reason there's no debating that it is objectively the best retro track in Mario Kart Wii. Thanks for watching.